Why are black people in jail at higher rates than white people?
That's the question, right? Maybe because they
Yes.
commit more crimes than white people.
But that's not true. It actually is.
They do. So every independent analysis shows that blacks have committed a disproportionate amount of crime. No one wants to say it out loud, but it's true.
Did you notice the cheering that happened when Charlie Kirk said blacks commit more crimes?
Right? Maybe because they
Yes.
commit more crimes than white people.
But that's not true. It actually
It sounds like this is something they already believe, and we're just waiting on someone to say it. This is a common mistake a lot of people who follow the tenets of white supremacy make, accepting something that goes along with what they already believe. Do they stop to think if it even makes sense? No, they don't. If they did stop and allowed themselves to think, they would realize Kirk is citing stats for convicted crimes while confidently and wrongly declaring blacks commit more crimes. Committing crimes and being convicted of a crime are two separate things, but it doesn't matter to them. When Charlie Kirk is saying black people commit more crimes, they're like a hungry shark during feeding time. His followers eat it right up. In order to know, and by the way, you can't know, that blacks commit more crimes, one would have to know all the crimes that have been committed. All those crimes would include committed crimes that weren't solved. It would include committed crimes that weren't reported. It would include committed crimes that were reported but not prosecuted. It would include committed crimes that were reported, prosecuted, but there wasn't any prison time. You get the picture. So Charlie Kirk has to know the conclusion he's reached, that he shared with his followers, that black people commit more crimes. He has to know he can't know that. If he knows he actually can't know that and he says it anyway, well then he's a liar. If he doesn't know, yet still says it, then he's incompetent. Either way, why would anyone follow such a person? It's my assertion that critical thinking can clear up a lot of these issues if one cared about the facts. Sadly, some people don't care about the facts. They believe what they want to believe, despite any evidence to the contrary. If he or any of his fans actually cared about the facts, they would look into what actually gets people convicted, and that's the legal system. Some people will say, no, crimes get you convicted. If that were the case, there wouldn't be any innocent people convicted by our legal system, but there are. So let's look at our legal system and its relationship to black people. Statistics show once blacks enter into the legal system, there's a distinct bias. To understand that bias, we should look at the 13th Amendment of the Constitution. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery, except it didn't. Read it for yourself. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as punishment for a crime. Except means it's still here. Slavery wasn't ended. It was transferred to the prison system. But I'm sure it's just a coincidence that slavery under the Constitution allowed for blacks to be slaves, and the 13th Amendment transferred slavery to the prison system, and today the disproportionate number of prisoners are black. Do what you will with that. To understand more of the possible bias, let's look at the prosecutors in the U.S. In the U.S., prosecutors have what's known as prosecutorial discretion, which allows prosecutors a wide latitude to decide whether or not to charge a person for a crime and which charges to file. So, who are these prosecutors? Well, a 2015 study has shown that of the 2,400 local districts in the U.S., 95% of the prosecutors were white. Now, does that mean that these prosecutors are just throwing black people in prison? No. Well, we can't prove that. What we do know, though, is in another study, it was found that black males are sentenced 19.1% longer than similarly situated white males. So what we can say is, in this legal system, slavery has been transferred to the prison system, and when blacks go through the legal system, it's most likely a white prosecutor that decides whether to press charges and what charges to press. And when blacks are sentenced, their sentences are longer. So, Charlie Kirk and fans, black people aren't in prison more because they commit more crimes. It seems there's a system at play. But I'm sure that's just a coincidence.